Technology. Blacks in technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome, everybody, to the Blacks in Technology Big Tech Talk podcast. This is episode number 66. Yeah, that's right. We've made it all the way to 66 episodes, and we have more coming up in store in the future. I'm your host tonight, Greg Greenlee. I have no co-host tonight, but we do have two amazing guests that we're going to be talking about development boot camps. If this is your first time listening, you can find us at the following URLs, and that's www.blacksintechnology.net. That is our website and our community site. You can check us out on the Twitters. That's at Black in Technology. That's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. We also have a Facebook page, and that's facebook.com/Blacks in Technology. And check out our LinkedIn group as well under Blacks in Technology. If you are on the Twitters and you have questions for our guests, tweet them to hashtag BitTechTalk. BITTECHTALK, or just tweet them to us at Black in Technology. All right. Blacks in Technology is a tech-focused community and media organization focused on increasing diversity in technology. It always focuses on forming new partnerships and opportunities to assist our members with their continued professional growth and development. So if you want to partner with us, send us an email to partnerships@blacksintechnology.net. For any general inquiries, send an email to us at info@blacksintechnology.net. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, oh, great, I want to be a part of that. Well, how can my company be involved? How can we get our company in front of your listeners? Sponsor a podcast. You can send us an email at sponsorship@blacksintechnology.net. So some big announcements. Blacks in Technology, the community has reached over 1,500 members as of yesterday. So that's nationwide in every state. Our community, number of registered members is now over 1,500 members. So I'm very ecstatic, very happy about that. Thanks to all of our supporters and people who continue to support Blacks in Technology, and let's keep growing the community. Join us next week for podcast number 67. We're going to have Jordan Sissel of Elasticsearch. Jordan Sissel is also the creator of Logstash, and we're going to be talking about the ELK stack, and that's Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kambata, and he's going to discuss on how to make sense of our data. So it's going to be a pretty interesting, very technical podcast. So join us next week. That's going to be December 18th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. And what else do we have going on? Oh, BIT is also looking for a marketing person. We just hired a developer, a person who's going to be in charge of web development, UI, UX. Her name is Jennifer Epperson. So welcome, Jennifer, to the team. Very excited about that. But we're looking for a marketing person. We need somebody to handle, newsletters, social media campaigns, all that jazz. So if you are a marketing person and you want to be a part of the Blacks in Technology team, go to our website. I'm pretty sure there's a job posting on the site. So check that out. Send us a resume, and, we'll get it moving. All right. So our show topic of tonight is very interesting. Been wondering about dev boot camps for a long time. I've read some pretty exciting blog posts about it. I actually read one. I can't remember the young lady's name, but a few weeks ago I read it was almost like a diary account of her encounters with a dev boot camp, and it was pretty interesting. And you've seen dev boot camps pop up all around. People that guarantee jobs right after you finish the boot camp and all this other type of stuff. So I wanted to get a couple of people from a couple of different angles and aspects on the podcast to talk about dev boot camp, so they can educate our member base and people who's listening on what dev boot camps are, what to expect, and all that. So welcome, Krista Williams. I'm going to give you their background, a little bit, a bio on both of them. We got Krista Williams and Maurice Rabb. Krista Williams is a software engineer at Zipcar. She received her Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Pittsburgh in Linguistics, And while working at a language services agency during her first 2 years after graduating, she became intrigued by the idea of learning the program, and she changed careers. She went through an immersive bootcamp, MakerSquare in Austin, Texas, during the summer of 2013. So she is a participant in a boot camp. So we're going to get her perspective, ask her a bunch of questions about that. And we have Maurice Rabb, who's actually a instructor of a dev boot camp. So Maurice, over the past 25 years, he's worked in a wide variety of programming languages, favoring pure dynamic languages such as JavaScript, Smalltalk, and Ruby. He's an expert in domain modeling, design patterns, and framework development. After working in corporate engineering positions at GM, Motorola, and Lockheed, he returned to Chicago to start a company, Stono Technologies, LLC, with his brother, Christopher, developing a couple of software patents along the way. Over the last 9 years, he's taught software engineering at the University of Illinois, at Columbia College Chicago, and now at Dev Bootcamp. Maurice is passionate about demystifying technology and making computing more accessible to underrepresented groups. He loves traveling, tinkering, playing board games, going on adventures with his 7-year-old daughter, and being the building super, a.k.a. bookman, at his extended family compound. So welcome to the show. Very, very, very happy to have you both on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Nice meeting you, Chris.
So we're going to start off with our traditional first question for our guests, and starting with Krista. Krista, give us a little bit about your background in technology.
Sure. So I've been programming about a year now, and I got my start by attending a boot camp. Currently, I'm working in Zipcar, and the languages I'm working in are Ruby and JavaScript primarily.
Okay. And what about you, Maurice?
Oh wow! Well, I ended up doing engineering in college, and I started out in product design, which is based in mechanical engineering. I just drifted more and more computer science over time. You know, it just seemed like the lubricant that makes everything, any kind of smart product work, and it just became more and more the medium that I was interested in working in.
Excellent. So Maurice, so let's go before that. Like, how did you? Okay. What got you interested in engineering? From like a childhood, or when did that start?
Well, you know, I was always making things as a kid. I was always taking stuff apart. You know, usually putting it back together, but not always successfully. And
missing a few screws.
Yeah, missing a few screws. Yeah, you know, it just needed to be a little bit lighter. You know, so and you know, mercifully, I had encouragement from my parents and from teachers who, you know, saw some talent in me. And, you know, I just started performing well in high school, and it just positioned me well, you know, to go to college. I ended up going to Stanford, and mercifully they had this program in product design. And so it just was a really good way to channel my interest in understanding how things work and in making things.
Excellent. So were you like the kid who had who was building like these incredible Lego airplanes when the only thing I could build was like a four walls and that's it?
Yeah, we were doing pretty epic Lego stuff with my brother and I. And you know, now that I think about it, my father, he one of his rituals that he would do with us was he would take us to the Consumer Electronics Show. It used to be based in Chicago. It's been in Las Vegas for many, many years. But when we were kids, it was in Chicago. And he had a friend who owned an electronics shop, and so he was able to get him a pass, and he would get us a pass, and we'd go walk the conference with him every year. And it really just inspired us on what things could be done, and watching new things being made.
Nice, very nice. I just recently. That's good to hear, because I just recently took both of my sons to a Linux conference here in Columbus, Ohio, and first tech conference for the both of them, and you know they got to start them early, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean those experiences are are really formative, and it's interesting to see what sticks with children. I'm trying to be present with that about my daughter and the things that I try to expose her to as well.
Excellent, excellent. So, Krista, you received your Bachelor of Arts in Linguistics, which is not tech. So what led you to the world of coding, the world of technology, and eventually your pursuit to become a web developer?
I think there were a lot of things that I was just looking into and that sounded intriguing. Like I was considering going back to school to get a master's degree, and I was looking at a variety of fields, one of them being computational linguistics. And I emailed the professor about the requirements, like whether I needed to know how to code or not already, and she said that I did. And so that's one of the things that really propelled me to start really learning how to code. But not only the possibility of pursuing a master's degree in something more technical, but also just reading about the lack of developers, that there was a deficit of developers, and also just reading about what the job role entailed and the possibility of being able to bring something to fruition if I thought of it, or just to have a job where I have the ability to be presented with problems and tackle them myself and create things. All those things were very appealing to me at the time. So after doing a lot of research and talking to different people, I decided to start learning to code a little bit through some of the websites that are online that are geared towards learning, like teamtreehouse.com, and coding on my own, and also meeting with other developers at different meetups in the city. I really became intrigued. So those were just reading about, what the field was really like, and wanting to be able to make things work. The things that led me to becoming interested in coding and pursuing a career as a software developer.
It's fantastic.
Gotcha. So, yeah, that's a great journey. Let me ask you this: have you found any similarities between linguistics and coding? Because you're basically you're kind of both dealing with languages, and if so, in what ways are they similar?
I think they're similar in that when studying linguistics is the study of language, and when you look at language, you a lot of the core classes you're breaking it apart and seeing the systems, how it works, whether you're looking at the sounds or how you put words together or going up to sentences, and then other applied forms of how we use language, whether we're teaching it to others or how it's processed in the mind and things like that. And so we did a lot of my coursework. We spent a lot of time, looking at what makes languages similar and how the systems which the language is built upon, and how they are similar and different. And I think that sort of logical way of looking at things is very important when you're coming and starting to learn how to program. So I would definitely think that those two things are very similar. I think those are the major similarities. Human languages are different from programming languages in that when you're talking to another person, even if you don't get the syntax exactly correct or other things like that, it's easier to figure it out. Whereas with computers, you do have to be more precise. But I definitely think that when looking at a new language, learning it, or trying to figure out how it works, looking at it that way definitely really helps when you're learning a programming language, and learning how to program and think logically.
Interesting, very interesting. So you heard it here first. If you're going to become a programmer or a coder, learn linguistics. No, I'm just kidding. No, you don't need to.
That's pretty good. Go ahead. You're talking about language. Like, one of the things that I often say to my students is not to underestimate the power of spoken language. Like humanity's been around, 100,000 years, and, what distinguishes us from other animals, is our facility with language. And, we've only been writing, for 5,000 to 6,000 years, and writing software for, less than 100 years, maybe less than 50 years. And, when we're writing programs, you're trying to, you're obviously controlling a machine, but you need to write software that other people can read. And, it's in the language, the talking of the language and making decisions about naming that makes for good code. And so, being a more linguistically sensitive person, I think does make you a better software engineer, a better programmer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
right, that's a great connection to make there. So, Maurice, you share a similar journey in terms of transitioning, starting in as an engineer in corporate America, then moved over to teaching in software engineering. So how did this transition happen, and what was the motivation behind him leaving the corporate world behind?
Well, I had the good fortune of getting a scholarship from General Motors, and when I was in college, and so then ended up paying for quite a bit of my college and grad school. And a really great experience at General Motors. Like, it really taught me about, and it's really, I learned more about it in thinking about it in retrospect, about what an organized engineering environment is like. And, at the time, they were really trying to diversify their engineering talent base. And obviously, the pipeline for black folks in our fields, engineering and computer science is quite thin. It's just, I wanted to make new things and not live under such bureaucracy. And frankly, I was trying to get back to Chicago. That ended up leading, I worked at a number of corporate positions, but I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, and fortunately my brother and I had the opportunity to try something. And so we started this company, Stono Technologies, and we were looking to develop technology to go into consumer electronics to help differentiate them. And, long story short, we raised some money, but we didn't raise enough. And we were looking to raise another round, and it was supposed to come in September 2001. And our timing just was lousy. But, it was interesting that we got several patents that occurred out of our efforts. And, post bubble, I ended up retreating into management consulting. I ended up doing quite a bit of work with museums. Actually, I ended up doing a little bit of work with National Underground Freedom Center, where you're based.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's what brought me to Cincinnati first time. And but the museum market dried up about 12 to 18 months after the bubble, because all that money was no longer being available to go to such philanthropic activities. And I ended up working for a company called IC Stars, based here in Chicago. Are you familiar with them? They're a pioneer. They're actually a pioneer in bootcamp education. They train largely city folks, largely black and Latino folks, smart young people, who should have gone to college but didn't for whatever reason. And they train them in a long 16-week program for entry-level positions in technology and business. And so they end up placing their cycles of students in all kinds of positions across Chicagoland. So I ended up working with them because I was really, it's lonely in our profession. Like, there are not many of us, and like whatever I could do to participate to help bring more brown people into our profession certainly interested me. And not long after that, I ended up meeting my wife-to-be, and she was teaching down at the University of Illinois. She was teaching creative writing down there, and I went down there to join her. I ended up joining a PhD program in computer science down there. And I started moving more and more academic as a result of my experience at IC Stars and then at U of I.
Nice. And I take that back. I have heard of IC Stars.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
Sandy Castro is amazing. And their graduates are amazing. So big shout out to them.
Nice. So let's get into what the topic of the show about, what the show is about, which is dev bootcamps. Some people might know what they are. Some people might have never heard of them. Maurice, tell us what is a dev bootcamp? Why should we care about it? And how did you become involved with dev bootcamp? It's kind of three questions in one there.
Well, Well, obviously there are a number of development boot camps out there, but Dev Bootcamp, DEV bootcamp.com, is one of the leaders in this area. We've got 3 campuses. We have one in San Francisco, a newer one in Chicago, and the very newest in New York. And I'm based at the Chicago one. Chicago one's been open about 2 years. I've been there since this summer. We train people in a 19-week program to become web developers, to take on entry-level software engineering programming positions at companies. We say that we like to develop world-class beginners. And, so our program is, like I said, is 19 weeks. It's 9 weeks at home. It's, 20 to 30 hours a week. Each week, people are working remotely with their cohort of other folks who began at the same time. They're getting online instruction and code reviews. And at the end of the 9 weeks, they end up coming on site to one of our campuses, to one of our offices, and they do 9 weeks there. And those 9 weeks are broken into 3 phases of 3 weeks. And after they end the last phase, we have a week of careers. And so every 3 weeks we have a new cohort coming in of about 20 folks. And every 3 weeks these cohorts are graduating, and they give a final presentation, a project that they've worked on for the last 8 days of their experience. And I got to tell you, we are consistently blown away with the projects that these small teams put together. We frequently end the day saying, "Wow, these projects, some of them just seem like they're ready to go into some kind of business, like they're just the basis of a new venture." So it's really exciting to see what our graduates produce. The last thing I'll say quickly is the curriculum is mostly in Ruby. We teach JavaScript. We teach test-driven development and agile methods. Where we have a curriculum that we call engineering empathy. We realize that most software projects succeed or fail not just because of people's technical skills, but their ability to work together, their ability to be empathetic with each other and the customers. So that's it in a nutshell. That's our program.
Nice. And so, Krista, you attended the MakerSquare Bootcamp in Austin. Tell our audience a little bit about the experience. How long was it? What were the living arrangements like? What type of commitment did you have to make?
Sure. So when I attended MakerSquare, I was part of the first cohort in summer of 2013. And so the program was 10 weeks long, focused on teaching front-end and back-end skills, and mostly Ruby and JavaScript. So the structure of the courses were, I think there are 20-some students, so usually each week we were assigned sort of a pair to work in, and we would get a different lesson on one technology in the morning, and then we would switch off with the other half of the class in the afternoons. We would also, we had many projects to reinforce whatever language or technology we were working with, and we also had a hackathon, or a few hackathons actually, throughout the class. So lots of project-based learning, lots of pair programming, and we covered a lot of different things during that time. As for living arrangements, MakerSquare does have a dev house, which some of the students stayed in. So I was coming out of town, so I had other arrangements. I didn't live in the dev house. I lived elsewhere in the city in an apartment. But they do have a dev house available for students who are out-of-towners and want to live with other students. So that was my general experience. It was very intense. It was a really great experience. I'm really glad I went through it because I learned so much, and it was and I met many great people, and I learned a lot during the process. But that's essentially what the experience was like and sort of how it was structured.
How long was it? How long was the boot camp?
10 weeks.
10?
10 weeks, yes.
Gotcha. And Chris, we got a question earlier from one of our followers on Twitter. She calls herself the Great Bambino. Her Twitter handle is at Rails Monster. So RAILS Monster MONSTER _ So her question to you, Krista, was, how were you able to put your career on hold to attend a developers boot camp? She's looking to attend, but she's wondering how to quit her day job for 12 weeks to make a career change. Can you give her a little bit of advice?
I think especially if you're, regardless of the situation, I had to just, save up, and then I left my former job since I was going into a totally different career. So that's, I had to save up, and then because I didn't have, it was 2 months essentially of commitment, so I had to save up prior to attending.
Gotcha. Is there anything else that you did to kind of prepare yourself? I mean, because it's one thing, with the finances, it's another thing to kind of take that risk and leave something that you went to school for, and also, something that you're kind of comfortable with, and in order to kind of make that career leap. How did you prepare for that mentally?
I was just at the point where I knew that it was something that I wanted to do, and I figured there wasn't a better time than when I was, 24 and had a bit of work experience, that had a better idea of what I might want to try next. So I try to look at things. I try to make decisions and say, well, in the future, would I rather try to do this even if it doesn't work out, or be so afraid and not try to do something at all. And I was just at this point where I thought this was something that I would really, enjoy doing, and I just decided essentially to go for it. But in the months prior to that, I didn't just totally just say, I just want to go to boot camp and then a month later apply. Prior to that, I've been, trying to save, and also, reading about technology and meeting other people and trying to get a feel for whether that was something that I really wanted to do. So I definitely feel like do a lot of research, and, look at, there's a lot of websites now which have reviews from people, and also idea like what the expenses would be, and try to plan all that ahead of time. I would definitely suggest that you definitely, try to say, well, in 6 months, how, or in a year, is this something I can try to do.
Gotcha. Maurice, I'm going to have you add a little bit to that, because you coming from an instructor side, you kind of see quite a few people who are making that career change and that shift in their life. What are some of the things that people have approached you with, or because I know it can be a pretty emotional thing, especially when you dive into something that's kind of really unknown, and then you get to that point to maybe you're kind of questioning whether or not you made the right decision. So what type of advice would you give someone?
Well, pardon me, Mom. I highly encourage people to visit a boot camp that they're interested in before they go, and certainly talk with alumni to see their experience and get a sense. Because, at our program, when students are on site, they're there working 60 to 8-hour weeks for many, many weeks at a time. And it's intellectually, emotionally, and a physically challenging experience doing that. So, you've got to be prepared to be intense for a long time and be able to put a lot of other parts of your life on hold to pursue this kind of approach. There's definitely upsides to it, though. The intensity of the experience tends to accelerate your learning, and as you move through the program, you gain a kind of confidence that you might not get in a standard program. And as Krista's saying, like you got to be prepared to have saved some money for the tuition, and also not to be making money during that time. Not to mention the time afterwards to find placement. Most grads find placement within 2 to 4 months of finishing one of these things, but it's a non-trivial matter to make this kind of decision. That being said, most of our graduates end up being very satisfied with their education and finding positions making substantially more than what they were before. So it's really important that you go in doing the opportunity cost calculation. I got to be honest. Like being a real grown up with a daughter at home and a wife. Like I don't know that I could do it. And I'm always really moved and impressed by the students who come through and what they achieve and what they're how much they sacrifice to achieve what they're looking to get.
Yeah, it could be a very, very tough proposition. And it's all about are you passionate about it, and are you willing to take that risk to do it? Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if I could do it at this point.
Yeah.
Doing real stuff, it's kind of hard to. Go ahead.
The other thing to look at is what kind of pricing and what kind of pricing base does the place work with? A lot of this is actually a good segue into why I was interested in moving to boot camp style education over traditional academic approach. The bottom line for many people, the calculus about the value of pursuing traditional education it's just changed so much in the past 10, 15 years. And with the cost of traditional college is going up so much, I'm delighted and really blessed to have had the education I have. But I don't know that economic calculation makes sense for everyone now. College is expensive. It's 4 years. A lot of people come out in lots of debt and not making enough money to cover the debt that they developed to get their education, or they start a college, get some debt, and don't come out with a degree, and end up in a difficult situation. So for some, in spite of its cost, in spite of its intensity, a boot camp approach makes a lot of sense. I'm old enough to remember the Reagan era, and since that time, so many apprentice-style educational experiences. People working trades to do do trade work and make better than living wage, make a good living, make an honorable living. Those opportunities have been drastically reduced. So it's really nice that technology, specifically programming, has created an opportunity for ordinary people to get an education and be able to make a good living.
Yeah, who was that gentleman? He actually has a campaign. This is a guy who is on cable, does the dirty jobs. I think it's Mike something.
Yeah.
But his campaign is primarily geared around, that's something that we lost in America is, we've kind of went away from these type of jobs, these type of vocational jobs that people used to be able to go to a vocational or trade school and get, and like you said, make a nice living wage, something that you could use to raise and take care of your family. And, we've kind of shunned that in today's society and made it almost seem like a very, I guess, low-level type of thing to do. So when you think about these dev boot camps, it's definitely an ode to these trade schools of yesteryear, so to speak. I'm happy to see that it's kind of resurrected that feel. So
I agree. The guy's name is Mike Rowe. That was his show. Yeah.
Rowe.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I mean, we need to be creating more opportunities for more people, all kinds of people, to be able to, have gainful employment, doing meaningful work. And, there's no lack of smart people in this country. And, you don't need to be a genius to learn how to program. All you need to you need to be able to reason, and you need to be able to be meticulous, and you need to be willing to sit with frustration for periods of time. Because, as Krista will tell you, programming can be frustrating. You're looking for that bug,
Yeah, definitely. So, what are your feelings around on the online coding boot camps? How do you feel about those?
I wish I could say more. Like I said, I've been with that boot camp since the summer, and I'm not as familiar with the entire spaces. Yeah, but I will say this: we started another program called Localhost, because we realized that so many people can't actually relocate. I mean, we have, I'd say, 60% of our students have relocated to Chicago or San Francisco or wherever to take part in this, and that's another serious expenditure finding housing, as Krista was saying. And so we started this Localhost based out of Columbus right now, and so for people who are within 2 hours drive of Columbus, we still have our beginning 9-week phase as before, but then the following 9 weeks is also remote, with periodic meetups in Columbus, so that COLA members can get together and actually have face-to-face instruction from time to time. So it's kind of a hybrid in that. Yes, they still get some face time, but the majority of the time is done remotely. So it's like all of us are trying to figure out. All of us boot camps are trying to figure out how to serve people where they're at more and more, because not everybody can get to one of the big cities to do this, and obviously there are lots of talented people all over the country who are in smaller cities or small towns who would like to participate in this profession.
Yeah, definitely. So, Krista, what is you attended the developers boot camp, interacted with quite a few people. You kind of the curriculum and what it's like to be there. So tell us, what should people expect when attending a developers boot camp, and how did you prepare? How should someone prepare to attend one of these boot camps?
I would say if someone's looking to prepare to attend a boot camp, most boot camps, if you're accepted to one, they will give you materials so that you can go through and learn the coding basics. I would code as much as you can before you get there, because it will just help you out so much in the long run. Some people, they'll go into whatever they're attending, whether it's a boot camp or something else, and it's always good to prepare. Then you'll get more out of it. Other than, aside from that, just prepare as much as you can.
Gotcha. Yeah. So what are some things that people should expect at a boot camp? So you prepare, you get to a boot camp, and then what? Like, is it a boot?
You're going to be working crazy hours, or you should be working crazy hours. Well, you'll. We had 9 to 5 more or less hours of instruction. You should definitely stay after and continue to reinforce those concepts. You get out what you put in. I've definitely seen that, and you just have to put the hours in. Maybe you try to work on some side projects, maybe repeat a project, but you're going to be spending a lot of time. And it's really crucial because you've allotted all this time and spent, you may have left a job, you may have relocated, and so it's really important to put as much effort as you can and talk with your instructors, and also make friends with your, and get to know your peers, because programming is not only, learning to code. And I really liked, when we were at MakerSquare, we stressed pair programming, and interacting with others, because it's not just, what you're writing or the logic of it. It's being a good developer is a composite of all those things. So those are just, I would expect a lot of intensity, you will be frustrated when you're, learning to program. At first it's very, difficult making things work, and then it starts getting better, and then you start being able to produce the things that are in your mind, and it's one of the best feelings when, you get that code to work. It's incredible. So the whole experience is very intense. You'll be frustrated sometimes, you'll need to take a break, and you'll be stuck on this problem for hours or even days, and then it'll work, and you'll feel this intense euphoria. So there's a lot of that. It's a great experience, though.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Maurice, you've taught at both the university level, and you've taught it at a boot camp, apparently. So, but how do you vary your teaching style, or do you need to vary? So, what's your teaching style like at a boot camp compared to how you would approach it at a university level?
Well, at a university level, it's typically prepared lectures and sections, and homework assignments and projects, and there's lots of grading, and which is the least favorite part of both instructors and students. At a boot camp, there's a lot more. We do lectures. We do live coding demonstrations. We do lots of Q&A. We do lots of one-on-one coaching. We do lots of over-the-shoulder coaching. We do assessments to see how people are coming along, but there are no grades. The feedback loop just tends to be much, much faster. We are, like I said, we have a new cohort coming in every 3 weeks, and we're getting feedback from them all the time, and it helps us continually iterate and refactor our curriculum to adapt and try to better meet the students where they are. We get to see what's successful and what's not. We just get to do a lot more experimentation to try to build a better product all the time. And we're also getting feedback from our client partners, our corporate partners who are hiring our grads. So I have to say I appreciate the feedback loop, but it is quite intense for the students and the instructors and the staff. It's just it's a more intense environment. So that's the big difference. As far as teaching students, it feels a lot the same in that I enjoy working with students, and the bright students everywhere, and I really like seeing young people coming into Dev Boot Camp, much like I did at Columbia and U of I, who are in an environment where they sometimes feel unsure of themselves, and watch them develop confidence and really just surpass their own expectations and our expectations. It's a very moving experience as a teacher.
Nice. And your boot camp, your Dev Boot Camp, is 19 weeks. And Chris had mentioned that hers was 10 weeks. What's I guess what I'm trying to ask is, so what is it about your boot camp that's making yours that much longer? I mean, that's almost double the amount of time.
Yeah. Our boot camp, we used to say it was 9 weeks because it's 9 weeks on site. As like I said, as we've iterated, we realized over the years that our students performed better when they had more prep ahead of time. And so, we call the phases on site, phases 1, 2, and 3, and we call the 9 weeks ahead of time phase 0. And the idea is, a lot of folks, this is before they've moved, they're still working, they still may be working their job. And so this is basically kind of like a night school, 9 weeks of night school prep to be ready to be most optimized to, get the most out of the 9 weeks that they're on site. And so then that last week is a careers week where we're, helping people, put together their resumes and their LinkedIn profiles and, manage their social media and online presence so that they can, put together a compelling, sell themselves as a compelling product to get placed at a company or otherwise. So that's the difference. We really think that 9 weeks really ramps people up to be better successful and be better prepared, once they come on site and, they're, in that grinder of 68 hours a week.
Yeah. I think prep time is definitely helpful because if you've never programmed at all and then you're coming into a boot camp, you're trying to wrap your mind around so many different, first just learning how to program in general. Then with web development, you're never just coding in one language, and you have to try to wrap your head around the differences and make all these different things work. But if you have, a few months ahead of time of prep time, it definitely facilitates the process. So I think that makes a lot of sense to do it that way.
Nice. So, Maurice, what's next? Like after you attend the boot camp, what do you hope for your students' future?
Well, most of them are, like I said, they're hoping to get hired and be doing well-paying and interesting work. What I'm thrilled about, though, is how many end up doing more entrepreneurial things because they discover something in themselves, or they come up with ideas, and that's always a really pleasant surprise. There's also a third common group of students who come, which is like folks who may be working at a company doing non-technical or moderately technical work, and they see other people and they're like, I want to do that other kind of work. I want to do more programming, and they will leave to come to boot camp and then go back to their company taking on different kinds of roles. I love when people get out there and help demystify this profession. I love it particularly when we get more black folk, more brown people, more women into the space. In the history of computing, there were, up until the 60s, there were a large number of women in the computing profession. I mean, let me take that back in that there weren't a lot of people in computing, but the ratio of men to women was at much higher parity than it is now. And there were a lot of women mathematicians who were participating and instrumental in early computing. And, things have changed. And it's not because of any shortcoming of women. None whatsoever. And it's just the way what we've imagined for our women and imagined for girls, a rather a lack of imagination. And when they don't get to see, this is something for them, or, when they see that the culture is hostile, like it really hurts me, and it's hurting all of us. It's hurting this country. And, I could say the exact same thing for black people in particular. Like, we're highly underrepresented in engineering, and particularly in computer science things. I know you know this well. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad you definitely emphasize that, because one of our team members, Iori, she is really involved with some different organizations geared and focused towards women in tech. There's now I can't remember. Of course, I'll draw a blank. The Grace Hopper. She's really involved with that. Black Women in Tech. She's really into that as well. And she leads. I'm pretty sure she leads Bold Force, which is she works at Salesforce. I think Bold Force is kind of the technical community for black people there at Salesforce, and she leads that as well. So it's just good to hear you mention that, because she's mentioned that before, and I don't think a lot of people realize they don't realize that fact, and they think that women have never been at computing, and in fact, it's not like that at all. Women were very into computing and math and things like that early on, and over the years, that whole thing is begin to fade. And I'm glad to see organizations picking that back up and trying to make it more, put it more on display for women, and say, hey, this is a career field, this is an option for you. And so, yeah, I love hearing that.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic, because even I was reading an article and they were saying like the amount of women compared to like the 1980s and who were like pursuing computer science degrees hasn't risen. Yeah. It's actually dropped a little since then. And so it's something, I think about a lot, because I think of my experience where, for instance, I took a programming class in a database class while I was in college, but and I, decided not to really pursue it at that time. But I try to think that, like, now that I have become an engineer, some of the things that may have led me to pursue, for instance, language as opposed to engineering. And I think there are a lot of subtle cultural influences in that a lot of times women will not even consider engineering as something that they can do. And, now I'll talk to people about, my experience, and I'll meet a lot of very excited women saying, oh, well, that's something that I really want to do, but for whatever reason, we've just never really considered it as something that we could do, or something that really, we felt that maybe we weren't capable for whatever reason, that we were too stupid or something like that. And so now I look around at different things, and like even like just going into like furniture stores and seeing like what sort of items are available for boys and what sort of items are available for girls. Like looking at like even bed spreads, like you'll see for the women, you'll see like bed spreads like, or the girls rather, with like languages and ballerinas and all these cute and girly things, this is fine, but all the boy stuff is, will stay in science. And that's just one example, but it's all these things, and then the feedback that you might receive from teachers, even if you're a good student, saying, oh, well, we're not math, we're not good at math, or, or things like that, and people's attitudes. Even though it's very small, it adds up over time, and by the time you're graduating from high school and then you're in college and looking at different things, it really plays an influence into what you wind up doing and how you wind up perceiving yourself, and that affects your choices. So it's something that we should all be aware of, when we're, to try to encourage people. A lot of times, reading about women who do make it into engineering, I read like maybe 40% or more have a family member who's in it. So I think that helps too. Just being aware and like spreading the word that, people can do everything,
Yeah.
is important.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because, just some of the subtle things that and you mentioned, going and you see, like maybe like a comforter set or something like that for a little girl, and it's covered with pink ballerinas and all this stuff, and then you'll see a boy, and he'll have the solar system and space and the universe and everything like that. And it's funny because I never even realized that is a very, very subtle but influential thing in our society. And it's so embedded that, these things are right before our eyes, and you still don't even notice that. And it's something that, that's, when you look at it like that, it's like, we need to stop that. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's like we live in a stereotype-driven world, stereotype-driven country. We swim in prejudice. And it's easy to just go with the flow, like this river's all taking us. And like, if you're not aware of it, you don't take measures to correct these false notions that we are consciously and unconsciously perpetuating. And, having a daughter, I've been ever more aware of how media and, people we run into are trying to shape and frankly limit what what she can imagine for herself. And so I'm really thrilled, Krista, that you joined the ranks, and just you being there and you being present, the impact that you will have on people who are watching.
I certainly hope so. Yeah.
So, Krista, we talked to Maurice about what he hopes for his students in the future. Tell us a little bit about what your transition after boot camp was like. Like, what was the hardest part after boot camp, or in the real world, so to speak, and what are the really hard lessons you want others to know about?
I would say it took me a little longer than I sort of expected to find like a full-time job. And after boot camp, did a little bit of traveling, and then I wound up taking an internship with a company which I really enjoyed, and I got to continue learning the skills. I was working with a nonprofit with 2 other interns remotely, and so I did that for, I believe, 3 months, and then I continued with my job search. And when I started from boot camp in Austin, I wound up moving back to Philly for a little bit, and I found it pretty difficult, honestly, to find anything for junior developers. And so after internship, I was looking for something else for a full-time job. I started extending my job search, and I wound up speaking with a startup based here in Boston, and I accepted an offer with them, and I had to move. So that's, sometimes you'll hear about high employment rates, and there are plenty. All of my friends from boot camp have full-time jobs, but definitely don't go in with the expectation that you'll get a job just immediately. It may take a few months, and you have to do some work. It's not immediate because you do learn a lot, but there's still a lot to learn, and it's just with anything, it may take some time to land that first full-time job.
Nice. Excellent. That's excellent information to know. Before we get out of here, Maurice, do you have any last words for our listeners?
Well, again, like this whole thing, like, I just want to encourage everybody to dream bigger for themselves. Like, speaking of computing, it's a mystified field. People think it's magical, and
yes.
It's some of the things that like, to think about all the things that are happening in computing since I've been there. Like, we watch the internet, we watch the cloud, animation, gaming, artificial intelligence, but all of these things are, if not learnable, they're certainly accessible for people to use and link to and make new things from. Lots of youngsters can learn to program, and there's lots of tools, lots of free tools available for people to learn how to program and have it, get some satisfaction from it or join the profession. So I just want to encourage people to explore if they have any interest whatsoever in computing.
How can people get in contact with you? Like, give us some URLs of, the Dev Bootcamp, your Twitter. Or how can people follow you?
Okay, well, I'm easy on Twitter. I'm Maurice Rabb, MauriceRabb, and Dev Bootcamp is also the same way on Twitter. DEVBOOTCAMP, and devbootcamp.com. So I encourage you to visit our site. Hit me on Twitter. Go to the site and express interest. We if we're a fit for you, we'd love to find out.
Excellent. And I can't remember who, but someone from Dev Bootcamp. That's originally how
Emily.
We linked up. Yeah, Emily. she reached out to Blacks in Technology so that our community could be aware of Dev Bootcamp and what they were doing. And so definitely want to extend, an offer, anything that you guys are doing, definitely let us know, and we'll get it out to our community.
Yep.
So
Emily
Chris,
at devbootcamp.com.
Okay. Excellent. So what about you, Chris? Any last words for you?
Yeah, I want to co-sign what Maurice said. Definitely, dream big, and if it's a goal of yours or something else is a goal of yours, try to do it. I remember thinking back to last year when I, told people that I wanted to do this. A lot of people that I knew were not, for various reasons, were not necessarily supportive of the idea of me, leaving my current job and going to pursue something different and moving to another state. I got a lot of flack for that. And if you want to do something, I would definitely pursue it, because I'm so happy that I didn't listen to, the naysayers in my life who tried to dissuade me from doing it. I'm so happy right now. I'm really, I love what I'm doing, and I'm, and I would have never imagined this was really, possible, but I decided to go for it. And even though it wasn't totally smooth sailing at all points, but, I got there. And it's wonderful. So definitely go for it if it's something you want to do. Start planning, start talking to people, go to meetups, and make it happen. That's what I would definitely say.
Excellent. How can people get in contact with you or follow you if they wanted to?
I'm on Twitter. You can get me at my handle is iKristaW. Yeah. So tweet at me or send me a message.
Excellent. I definitely want to thank the both of you for lending your insight, your knowledge to the show tonight. Definitely enjoyed having you both on, and I always like to extend an invite to join the Blacks in Technology community to our guests as well. So, like I said, we have over 1,500 members, a lot of good technical talk on there, a lot of people on there talking about some real cool things, and there's even people on there, wondering, like, how do I get into programming? Or there's people wondering, like, hey, how do I find a programmer? So I think there's some very interesting things that you all can definitely engage in. So I want to extend that out to both of you. So thank you again for joining us and this evening on the podcast, and we wish you the best of success in the future.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you for having me. It's really great meeting you. And nice meeting you too, Krista. Hope to meet both of y'all in person sometime soon.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not that far from you, so, that might be sooner than you think.
Yeah, cool.
Excellent. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we want to give a thanks to all of our live listeners who tuned in to this podcast tonight to learn more about Dev Bootcamps. Thanks to our guests, Krista Williams and Maurice Rabb. Tune in next Thursday, December 18th, for our podcast on the ELK stack. ELK stands for Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Joining us will be Jordan Sissel, the creator of Logstash. He will be discussing logging and how to make sense of your data. So thanks again, everybody, for listening. I hope this podcast has educated some of you. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Until next time, good night.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology.